there's been a meeting. There's been a meeting. There has been a meeting. Right? There's been a meeting. And this has been a long time coming. Welcome to the page. Welcome to the YouTube. Blah, 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 blah. We got real stuff to discuss today, right? Because there has been all day, I at work, I'm on, X, scrolling through the news, and there was like announcement after announcement about new laws being passed or new rules by streaming services, Spotify, YouTube, Visa, right? And all of these stories had one thing in common: trying to control you, or trying to control, aka protect, your children. And this has been a long time coming. I kind of spoke about this previously. I don't know the exact video. I don't know if it was on my own podcast that I used to do with Monica, or one of the podcasts where I was a guest, being interviewed and talking with some friends. But I spoke about the fact that back when Pornhub was going through its thing, and there was this big campaign against Pornhub of trying to get credit card companies to not process payments on behalf of Pornhub. And the reason that they used was, there were videos on Pornhub that were taken without people's consent. And my point was, Pornhub is kind of like YouTube in the sense that if you get millions of uploads a day, yeah, you're going to get the occasional non-consensual video on Pornhub. You're going to get the occasional child porn video on Pornhub. There are ways to combat these things, or there were ways to combat these things that didn't have to go to the extreme of, hey, let's remove these credit card companies from even being used for private citizens to pay for porn, buy their porn, whatever. There was a big thing. I think both Visa and Mastercard, I think it was, walked away, and so you couldn't use them to pay for any videos on pornography. And I know for most of you are thinking, like, why are you paying for porn anyway? Look, a lot of people pay for pornography. I've paid for porn, in the past. I don't advise that you do, such a thing, but I've done it. So I'm not going to, sit on here and be a hypocrite. But ever since that story came out, I was saying, okay, this is kind of the first shoe to drop, right? We're kind of getting seriously into the censorship thing, right? Remember, Backpage, taken down by the government because it was a website that was used. I think the excuse then was also sex trafficking as well, prostitution. Even though many prostitutes came out and said that, they liked Backpage because it was much safer for them than being on the street. And then Backpage was taken down. Now, other websites came and filled that role, kind of, sort of. But it was known, okay, well, if you get too exposed, the website can go down. And again, people, cheered. People hate prostitutes in this country. They hate prostitution. And people can't see the forest from the trees when you present to them an issue that is easy for people to support, even if they don't think far enough ahead about the consequences. But I saw ahead. I saw today coming. I saw the news that we got today coming, and it's finally here, and we got to talk about it. So I want to start in the order in which these stories were published, because I saw them all today, but some of these stories came out yesterday, and for some reason I just didn't see it, right? So let's start here. Mastercard and Visa face backlash after hundreds of adult games removed from online stores, Steam and itch.io. Payment companies such as Visa, Mastercard, and Stripe are facing public backlash, including from billionaire Elon Musk, for pressuring online gaming platforms to remove hundreds of games in response to a campaign from an Australian anti-porn lobby group. Itch.io, an independent gaming platform, last week removed all adult or not safe for work games from appearing in its library in a hasty move to prevent payments for games being blocked across its entire service. Itch.io said that it was bowing to demands from payment providers, quote, to ensure we can continue to operate and provide a marketplace for all developers. The move came after an open letter organized by Collective Shout, an Australian-based group that fights the sexualization of women and girls. On July 14th, it called on payment providers to cease providing services to gaming platforms Steam and itch.io, claiming that hundreds of their games contain content including rape, sexual violence, and incest. And again, I have no reason to believe that that claim isn't true. Again, I haven't used Steam or itch.io, but from what I know about the platforms, they have much more risque content than, like, let's say, like the PlayStation Store, or the Microsoft Store, and many independent games. They use that platform. Itch.io's swift compliance, however, meant removing not just the content in Collective Shout's claim, but all not safe for work adult content from browsing and search, at least temporarily. Some games were also removed entirely. This is a time-critical moment for itch.io. I'm probably saying this wrong, but I hope, yeah. The situation developed rapidly, and we had to act urgently to protect the platform's core payment infrastructure, the company said. Unfortunately, this meant it was not realistic to provide creators with advance notice before making this change. We know this is not ideal, and we apologize for the abruptness of this change. Some users reported they were unable to play games removed from sale that they had already paid for, which itch.io has denied. We're going to get back to this later on. Collective Shout, a small but vocal lobby group, has long called for a mandatory internet filter that would prevent access to adult content for everyone in Australia. So in Australia, it ain't about the kids like it is in America. So, like, in America, we have the anti-porn movement, and it's usually it's discussed through it supports sex trafficking. I don't know why that's on my screen. Or it's harmful for children, right? And again, we have the evidence that I think like 9 years old is the average age that a boy watches his first pornography, right? Which is horrible. You're not even a teenager, right? You haven't kissed a girl. I'm not here pretending like I don't understand the actual gripes that people have with these issues. I'm just not pro censorship, and I see where this BS is going, right? And so that's the thing. In America, the anti-porn movement is built off of it's harmful for women. It's like sex trafficking, anti-Christian, and it's dangerous for our children. In Australia, they're saying this is bad for everybody. We want it banned for everybody. I think sometimes Americans, we're so in our own bubble, we don't really, we take our Constitution for granted, and we don't understand how we are allowed to view and say, like, the range of things that we can watch, listen to, and like speak in comparison to other Western countries is like night and day. You could be a Nazi in America, right? As long as you're not actually hurting anybody, you could espouse as much, Nazi propaganda as you want. You cannot do that in Germany. You can't do it. You will go to prison for these things. And I don't think we really understand the landscape that we're in, and it's important. And maybe, previously we didn't have to know because, we're Americans, right? We're American. We live in America. Okay, for what reason do I have to know what's going on in these other countries, right? Now, I would argue you should kind of, see what's happening in the world just out of curiosity. But if you're only self-serving, at least today, you have to see what's happening because oftentimes these people meet all the time. Like, well, when they have these summits or like these UN, gatherings or whatever between the heads of nation states, what do y'all think they be talking about? Right? Like, they talk about, well, I mean, I'm sure all types of debauchery happens as well, fucking whores and, orgies and all of that stuff, right? But, when they're not doing that, yeah, they're talking about stuff like this. So they want to give it all porn in Australia. Let's go back to the article. Its director, Melinda Tankard-Reist, was recently appointed to the Stakeholder Advisory Board for the government's Age Assurance Technology Trial, before the under-16 social media ban comes into effect in Australia in December. Collective Shout routinely focuses its campaign on underwear advertising and video games in Australia. It has recently campaigned for Elon Musk's X to ban adult content, but the success of its recent campaign against gaming platforms has brought them the most international attention. In the 2 weeks since announcing the letters sent to major payments providers, including PayPal, Mastercard, and Visa, video game marketplaces itch.io and Steam have announced policy changes. Steam, which has an estimated 132 million active monthly users, earlier this month removed an estimated hundreds of titles in response to pressure from payment processors. Tanker the Reese said she and her team had been bombarded with abuse, harassment, rape, and death threats since the campaign launch, which the team was compiling to report to the e-safety commissioner and the police. Stop doing that. I believe her as well. Y'all gotta stop. This is one thing. Like, people don't realize how much the things that they do are counteractive to what they want. Like, these women, they're crazy. They are against adult content because they believe adult content causes men to act the way that you're acting. And so your solution to this is to behave in the way in which they believe that you behave because of the porn. Stupid. Now again, you can't control everybody, and there's crazies everywhere. So, I don't think we should dictate policies by the worst of us. But again, if you're doing this, stop. By Monday, a change.org petition calling for payment processors to, quote, stop controlling what we can watch, read, or play has garnered more than 147,000 signatures. Nobody is forced to engage with content they find offensive, but they have no right to dictate what others are allowed to enjoy, especially when it's within the bounds of the law, it said. Elon Musk posted bravo in response to an ex-user's post about the petition, and in another reply to criticism of a payments processor forcing the removal of content, said he wanted to get his own X-payments platform going soon. While collectors shout solely targeted games, it said violated policies held by payment platforms. Itch.io's move to temporarily remove all not safe for work content resulted in games with LGBTQ being removed. I don't care. I'm not reading this whole thing. Okay, so that's kind of where we are here. And read the whole article for yourself. So that happened. And again, remember, this happened with Pornhub. It's happened with other sites as well. Porn stars, prostitutes, escorts, they have been screaming from the top of their lungs about, them having payment processors on their, own personal websites, suddenly refusing to process payments because they were escorts, prostitutes, and porn stars. And again, you can find these professions to be problematic. You can find them to be demeaning to women. You can view them how you want. I don't care. I just don't understand how you don't see how this is like the ball going down the hill that's going to flatten all of us, which I see or I saw from a mile away. You start with the people that no one will really rush to defend. And then you expand to include more and more people or behaviors that you find to be anti, whatever your ideology is, right? In this case, it's anti-feminist. In America, it's anti-Christian. In the UK, it's anti, family. I don't know what the UK's thing is. They're not really religious, but this is the pattern. This is the pattern, right? Now, that came out July 28th. On July 29th, CBS News says YouTube to roll out new AI-powered technology aimed at identifying teen users. Right, and let's read a couple of paragraphs from this. YouTube announced on Tuesday it is planning to roll out a new age estimation technology that will identify users under the age of 18. The new feature is intended to protect young teens from harmful content, the company says. Powered by artificial intelligence, the tool will be able to assess a person's age based on the types of videos they've watched, the categories of the videos, and how long the person has had their account, regardless of the birthday associated with it, James Becerra, director of product management at YouTube, said in a statement on the platform's blog. Now let's stop right there. So what do we have? We have YouTube using AI to read between the lines, pretty much. AI is still kind of a baby at this point. But even as a baby, it has proven to be extremely effective at pattern recognition. And we've all, including me, right? We've been using all these AI platforms like ChatGPT and Grok or whatever. And again, I love using the technology. Like, my use of AI has been pretty good, right? It's helped me with work. It's helped me be more creative. I'm probably in the pro AI category. But each time that I use it, I'm helping to train the AI, right? And in defense of the AI companies, they're not hiding behind this. They kind of all let you know, the information that you put in is being used to train AI. In fact, every now and then, you'll put something into AI and it'll give you like 2 responses asking you, which one you prefer. Training the model. So we've been, using AI, putting a lot of information in there, trying things out. Again, I'm guilty. Sinner number 1 right here. Sinner number 1. And now that it's had a couple of years of, pattern recognition, adults do this, men search for this, men type like this, women type like this, right? Analyzing, dude, it's probably been analyzing the way that we write to such a meticulous degree that we can't even fathom. Can't even fathom it, right? I guarantee you, if I took some sample writings from like authors, not even famous authors, just if I had 10 women and 10 men to write, like a page, and I took a picture of it and I put it into an AI and asked, can you differentiate which of these 10 pieces were written by men, which of these 10 pieces were written by women? I'm almost positive it would be able to identify that at like a 90% clip. There was another story the other day that was about how AI pretty much has as good, if not better, bedside manners than most doctors. We know AI is now able to diagnose disease better than doctors now, right? So there are a bunch of upsides, but each time we use the damn thing, we're helping it learn things about us that we aren't even aware we are helping it to learn. And now here comes YouTube. YouTube is going to use all the information that we have helped train these AIs on against us and for our own protection, right? It's nothing for you to be alarmed by. We're here to help your children, right? Like, we're doing this for you. That's kind of, again, this is the excuse. But let's keep going. If the technology identifies a person that's under 18, it will take extra steps to regulate their content by disabling personalized advertising and limiting repetitive views of certain kinds of content, among other things. If YouTube incorrectly determines someone's age, the user can upload a form of identification to fix the error. Stop right there. So, you know what this is? This is you being profiled or like you being accused of a crime. And you know how in the criminal justice system, it's like on the prosecution to prove that you committed a crime. It's not on the defendant to prove that they did not commit the crime. This is the exact opposite. So the AI is walking through these streets. He's looking at us on the block, seeing what we're doing, and he's profiling. And he's like, "You look guilty." The AI is gonna pull us into the cybersecurity, the police van. Hey, you want to get out? Oh, my bad. Give me your ID. Right? That's what's happening. So the AI gets it wrong, but the only way to get out is to provide a government-issued your ID for you to proceed to use an account that you have created. Again, we were slowly walked down this pier. All of us have participated in the new world that we are soon to be living in. Each and every one of us, including me. I'm someone who, was aware of the kind of the risk of AI and everything. But the appeal of it, how cool it was, how awesome it was, totally outweighed any of the risk that I didn't seriously, I didn't take it serious enough. I didn't. And here we are. And some of you will watch this video and think that I'm being, he's exaggerating. He's being one of those, he's taking things to too far. But again, think about where we used to be. The internet, Wild Wild West, freedom, all of these different platforms, all of these different, applications. And then slowly but surely, content moderation was introduced. You started seeing certain states within America passing, ID laws as it pertains to, you can't watch certain pornographic websites without uploading a picture of your ID. You nudge a little bit, and the next thing you know, you don't recognize where you are. You don't. I'm gonna skip down to another part. YouTube says it will be testing the age detection tool in the coming weeks among a small set of U.S. users before rolling out the technology to a wider audience. The tool is already being used in other markets with success, the company states on its blog, but does not specify where. So YouTube, which again is owned by Google, they just put this part in the end of the paragraph. We've kind of already rolled this out to you guys. We never told you, but it's here. it's here already. The surveillance of the internet. I cannot stress enough where we are and how much things are about to drastically, radically shift. Because you have to think about it this way, right? On this AI point, right? So you have the credit card companies that started this way back when against the prostitutes and the escorts and the porn stars, right? Hey, so many of us have credit cards and debit cards. You don't even think about the fact that these are private companies. You can get frozen out of your credit card, out of your debit card, right? Meaning your access to your own money can be, shut off, and you don't have much recourse because these are private companies. I think we forget that point. But right now, I don't make any money online, right? I have 17,000 followers on TikTok. Don't make no money off of that. I have like 900 subscribers here, and my videos barely get 10 views. I make no money from this. But anyone who does make money from being a content creator, anything online, yeah, you are for the most part at the behest of private companies that are in control of whether or not you are able to receive payments. And as these companies begin to adopt, certain guidelines as far as what they deem to be good terms of services, you have to play within these rules. Otherwise, you can literally lose your source of income overnight. Just like that. Gone. Capiche. Boom. And you know how human nature, they know most of us ain't gonna stand on business. We ain't gonna, take a principled position and, try to find a way, around these things. Of course not. We're gonna, play within the rules because we want our money. I mean, just think about how much we've already changed already. Again, I'm telling you, they have slow walked us into this. You know how many videos I watch, and when people want to say porn, they say corn. Again, they could be talking about how porn is horrible, but they say corn because saying porn has been shown to put your video in the cannot be monetized category. So they were already starting to control speech. Or a couple of years ago, when word got around that if you curse within a certain number of seconds or minutes at the start of your video, you couldn't monetize it. Again, another area where speech was already being controlled. And people got mad and they made a fuss for a week or two. But what happened? You stopped saying porn and you stopped cursing early in your video. Same thing with a rape. You'll watch a video and then, they're talking about rape and they end up saying grape. So again, you can't talk about rape, but you can allude to it as long as you add a G in front of it and say grape, even though we all know you're talking about rape. You see what I'm saying? And I'm talking about you. Like, listen, when I tell you smart content creators, like dudes that are way smarter than me, like FD Signifier, Lil Bill, who I watch. And again, my politics are nowhere near these people. I'm sure FD Signifier thinks I'm problematic, and a coon, and Lil Bill thinks I need to go to college. But I don't need people to respect me or like me for me to respect and like their work. But again, these are gentlemen who I deeply respect and who are great at what they do, even if I disagree with their conclusions. And I've seen them have to play the game because if they don't play the game, they don't get paid. That's where we are. We're already hooked. The pandemic, again, pushed us even further into this online world. We're not going anywhere. Y'all can tweet all you want and have it, get mad and everything. You'll get mad for a couple of weeks, a week or two, and then you'll go back to jerking off and this time I critique, I jerk off too, but I'm saying giving your ID to jerk off, giving your ID so that you can sit and watch your favorite streamers, continue to allow your speech to be eroded so that you can, talk. They got us by the balls. So that was the second article. The third article, this is the one that really got me like, whoa, Independent article. Spotify users told to prove their age under new rules. Spotify has begun to ask users to prove their age and will stop them from seeing some content if they cannot. The company will now check whether users are adults before they can watch content that has been marked mature. Users that it suspects of being under 13, let me read that again. Users that it suspects, how are they going to suspect? Could be removed entirely as a result of the checks. The changes are part of widespread new age verification checks that are being introduced in response to UK legislation. We will get back to that later on in the video. While much of the focus has been on pornographic websites and sites such as Reddit or X/Twitter, which offer adult material, it covers any service that hosts content that might prove harmful to young people. Let's start right there. Do you know how broad of a category this is? If you ask 100 different people, hey, what do you think is harmful to young people? They all agree on something. Like, oh yeah, hardcore pornography, maybe really, 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 really obscene, dirty music, maybe, and very, very violent movies and video games. I think you can get the majority of that 100 people to agree on. But outside of that, okay, well, how grotesque does the music have to be inappropriate? Like, can a teenager listen to Fat Bottom Girls? I'm being serious. Can you listen to Fat Bottom Girls? Can you watch anime? And again, I'm an anime fan who will admit some of that stuff in anime is like, oh.
Daughter, does that mean you're a girl? Yep, thought so. You're a girl, all right.
But I watched it as a kid, and I turned out fine. How salacious is too salacious? So the word might here is pretty much being used so that, hey, this can apply to whoever we need it to apply to, whenever we need it to apply to, how we see fit. Let's continue. That includes Spotify, which was warned that some of its content might only be suitable for older adults. Age verification is required to, quote, access some Spotify content and features like music videos that are labeled as 18 plus by right holders, according to a help document on his website. The change was announced weeks ago, but it has received new attention this week as the deadline for age verification checks under the Online Safety Act has passed and those checks have gone into effect. The company has partnered with Yoti, a UK digital identification firm that is being used by an array of websites to conduct age verification checks. Yoti offers a variety of different ways to check a user's age and says that it will keep that information secure. Let me tell you something. I believe this. I believe they'll try. But there's no such thing as secure on the internet. Hospitals get hacked. Buildings where they do heart transplants get hacked by hackers a couple of times a year and demand ransoms. And some hospitals pay because when they do the calculations, it is cheaper to pay the hackers millions of dollars than to stay, off their servers for more than a day. And y'all think this ain't a gold mine for hackers to find your picture on one of these websites where you verify yourself and they get a detail of everything that you jerk off to or watch or listen to? Wake up. Wake up.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
Is there anything else that I care about in this piece? In the case of Spotify, Yachty will ask the account owner to show their face to their phone and then use algorithms to estimate their age. Spotify and Yachty say that the data will be kept safe and will be deleted once the age check is conducted. Listen to the next part. If that does not work, or if the age verification process suggests that a user is underage, an account holder can then use ID to verify themselves. That can be done from the account settings page. So again, another ID. And if you don't comply, you can lose access to your account. And then the last article from ABC News Australia bans YouTube account for children under 16 in reversal previous stance. Yeah, this article is basically about Australia again. Notice the UK, Australia. UK, Australia. The Australian government announced YouTube will be among the social media platforms that must ensure account holders are at least 16 years old from December, reversing a position taken months ago on the popular video sharing service. Remember I said before, we want to get back to the new laws being passed in the UK and Australia that's causing these companies to adopt these new guidelines, right? And this is where we need to talk about globalism. We live in a time that is really, really fragmented and where there is a lot of division, while also being so connected in insidious ways like never before. I mean, we're connected in ways that it's hard for you to really understand how much you're connected to these other societies. Laws that are being passed in other countries are causing platforms to adopt changes that may or may not only apply to the citizens under that government. Meaning, as a U.S. citizen, we could potentially find ourselves in the near future being required to show, because again, none of these, if you read these stories, none of these companies said that these rules and regulations will only apply to the territories in which these laws and guidelines will be enforced. In fact, remember, the YouTube AI story has nothing to do with any of these laws being passed in Australia and the UK. That's just YouTube on its own saying, hey, we're starting to do this. So you can find yourself, again, being under the rulership or being subjected to international law because these global companies have their hands in all these different markets and all these different countries. We forget that X, Twitter, is a global company. YouTube, global. Facebook, global. And as such, there are different laws in different territories, like there are for for everything. So this is not just exclusive to these platforms. But the difference though is because of how connected we are with these online platforms, a company that wants to rake in as much profit as possible to keep things as easy as possible can change the entire terms of services for everyone globally because of laws that were passed in a specific region and location. And this is kind of what, as much as we need to watch the AI, we need to watch banks and how these credit card companies can coerce entire platforms to radically change or get rid of certain content or services or resources by simply threatening, hey, we won't process anything for you. Like, think about how powerful that is, right? So we have to watch that. We have to watch the actual companies themselves as they pass all this AI stuff. We have to watch the AI companies now, because if you work in corporate America, you're gonna have to use these things while knowing you're training this thing that can be used on the back end or in a different context to spy on you. So you have to watch that. But then you also have to watch what's happening globally, because you are, whether you know it or not, at this point, we are all global citizens if you want to use these platforms. I'm a global citizen. You're a global citizen. It is what it is if we want to use these platforms. Now, there are platforms, they're much smaller, you don't know about them, who aren't trying to bend the knee. And I think we should be supporting them, whether that's Rumble, whether that's Odyssey. Kick is a streaming platform that allows a lot more free speech than Twitch or YouTube streaming, right? Like, I think that's what needs to be done to a certain degree. I don't think we should just roll over, but it's hard to get the masses to care about things more than the check. And that's what concerns me, is human beings are not these revolutionary people. Human beings are sheep and go along with whatever the new rules are. Again, they'll fuss, they'll fight for the most part, but they usually kind of get in line, because it takes a lot of effort and energy and just like emotion to kind of stay upset or to stay focused on combating these things. So we're in deep shit. We are in deep shit. I I have no positive, or I do have one piece of advice that I would give any content creator, and that is to hold on to, or we need to get back to, in-person interaction. For example, if you're a content creator who does videos on YouTube or whatever, you should be hosting an in-person show at some point in time where you can physically get in front of some people and physically talk to them, where you don't have the algorithm, the AI, keeping track of what you can and can't say. And again, you'll still have the issue with the credit card processing companies, depending on what your event is, right? Certain places won't host you, or they won't process your payments. Take cash, right? Don't let go of cash. I think we need to go back to owning physical content. I have the entire Dragon Ball Z set on Blu-ray DVD, and I play it on my PS5 when I need to play it. Is it annoying? Sure. I would love to just stream it. It's on Crunchyroll, but they don't got the Bruce Faulkner soundtrack, and that's pretty much the entire series right there. But I own the content, and I plan on doing much more buying. And again, it's annoying because it takes up physical space, but I'm going to have to begin to purchase physical copies of DVDs, buying media files, and downloading it onto my own hard drives, right? To own my own copy based off of where the world is heading. Think about all the music that you have on your phone. You don't own any of it. You pay a subscription to Apple Music or to Spotify, and you listen to it, but you don't own any of it. Apple TV, you buy all the movies and stuff, you don't own it. So I think if there's one place we can push back, it's finding ways to reintegrate ourselves into the actual real world and try to produce content that way, somehow. If you be streaming on Twitch with all these followers, hey, try to run out a theater and do something in person with the people. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. This was a long one. I would love to hear your thoughts down below. Do you agree? Disagree? Did I miss an angle that I should have thought about? I'd love to hear from you. I don't know when I'm gonna post this because this is long, so I gotta edit it, and do some things. But hopefully we'll be able to talk about this. Hopefully it'll be out sooner than later. Right? Until next time, deuces.